So Dogecoin and crypto holders are receiving a massive gift from the US government. This is something that could help revive the market. Before we look at it, let's talk about the general crypto market first. The crypto market has liquidated more than $275 million from its market capitalization in the last 12 hours. And Bitcoin has lost the crucial 35,000 support, which is psychologically important. The coin went below 31,000 at one point during intraday trading. Also, the correlation coefficient between the Nasdaq and Bitcoin is now 0.74, which is the highest it's been in over 90 days. Now I have some really important data for you that indicates that we could get out of the bear market soon. But before that, let's talk about the crash and everything that happened after it. Talking about the crash, one of the biggest reasons was how the whales started selling their holdings. Due to a 3-month peak in Bitcoin inflows to centralized exchanges, the number of Bitcoin whales is shrinking constantly. The high Bitcoin inflows on CEX indicate that whales may be leaving the market by selling coins. Another reason was how USD has been selling its Bitcoin reserves to save itself. Basically, USD has been struggling to maintain its $1 peg. USD dropped close to 99 cents over the weekend, fueling fears of a potential bank run. Now, the Luna Foundation Guard, an organization created by Terra's inventor Do Kwon, says it will lend out $750 million in Bitcoin to trading firms to hold USD price peg. Now, because of the crash, Bitcoin is off nearly 55% from its November peak, and 40% of holders are now underwater on their investments. In the last month alone, 15.5% of all Bitcoin wallets fell into an unrealized loss. Analysts from Glassnode also noted an influx of urgent transactions amid this latest sell-off, in which investors paid higher fees, indicating they were willing to pay a premium in order to expedite transaction times. The total value of all on-chain transaction fees paid reached 3.07 Bitcoin over the last week, the largest yet recorded in its dataset. During the sell-off over this last week, over $3.15 billion in value moved into or out of exchanges, the largest amount since the market hit its all-time high in November 2021. Also, the long-term technical indicators on the weekly chart give bearish signals. Both RSI and MACD are declining, with the latter moving into the red zone. The MACD has already formed 21 bearish momentum bars in a row. Signals of potential bullish divergence are developing on the RSI index, but they are very insignificant and have not yet been confirmed. The indicators show some similarities with the price dynamics of 2018 and March 2020. In particular, here the MACD also entered bearish territory and formed at least 21 consecutive bearish bars. If we focus on the RSI values, then the current situation is a little closer to 2020 than to 2018. Both of these price movements reflected that Bitcoin was near the bottom at that time. If in 2018 he still had to form the foundation, then in 2020 he has already reached it. Now before we talk more about it, let's come back to the big gift from the government that I was talking about. So a CME Group executive director with experience in crypto will be joining the CFTC staff. And this is according to Kristen Johnson, who is one of 5 commissioners currently serving at the United States CFTC. Johnson said Bruce Fekret will be her chief counsel at the CFTC starting on June 1. Fekret worked as an executive director and associate general counsel at the CME Group for more than 8 years, where he was leading regulatory counsel for issues including digital assets. During his time at the derivatives marketplace, he regulated crypto reference rates and helped in the development of financial products including Bitcoin and Ether derivatives. And this will be big for Doge and cryptos because Bruce, the new member, would definitely influence the CFTC to become pro-crypto. I also think that this move by the CFTC is a very calculated one. What I mean by this is that the US government is planning something big for cryptos, and that's why they've hired someone like him in the first place. Now coming back to it, let's look at some bearish predictions for cryptos before I talk about why the market could rise soon. An analyst who called the Bitcoin May 2021 collapse is laying out possible scenarios for Bitcoin, including a dramatic capitulation event. For references, he uses the May 2021 and November 2021 corrective periods as examples of what BTC traders could see next. He also said that, If we get a Bitcoin move down comparable to the previous two, we're looking at the $25,000 region. The analyst also points out that despite the bearish price action in recent weeks, Bitcoin still has a considerable downside as suggested by its 200-week moving average. But he said that zooming out, it is still in a powerful long-term uptrend. And another prediction came from the prominent Bitcoin hater Peter Schiff. He said that Bitcoin will likely crash below $10,000. In January this year, he tweeted that should Bitcoin go under the 30,000 level, it would soon crash under 10,000 too. In his tweet, Schiff stated that in order for that to happen, Bitcoin needs to break significantly below the 30,000 price line. He also launched a Twitter poll to find out how Bitcoin holders among his followers plan to act should Bitcoin keep dropping and fall below 30,000. What makes me really optimistic is that over 54% said that even if it happens, they'll choose to hold it. Now another analysis came from the Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson. He claimed that cryptos have entered a bear market when asked about the underperformance of the native Cardano token. After posting massive gains in 2021, Cardano has significantly underperformed this year, plunging by more than 43% since the start of the year. It is now down 77.44% from its record high that was reached in early September ahead of the much-anticipated smart contract launch. And yet another analysis came from blockchain backer. He said that Bitcoin losing its crucial support of 100-day moving average can lead to further sell-off. He also said that Bitcoin closes the week below the 100-week moving average. Both previous times led to capitulation to 200-week moving average in 2014 and 2018. Today's chart has many differences from those two times, and those two times were very similar to each other. Big dive in tomorrow. Now let's talk about why I'm still optimistic about the market. So Santiment has said that it believes the recent drop could signify a big bounce in the future. The Santiment team has tweeted that trader sentiment has dropped to 6-week lows after the Bitcoin price went down to the 39,900 level and even lower by now. The sort of capitulation signs that are currently visible on the crypto market are the weak hands dropping their Bitcoin, which is needed for a truly notable bounce of the king crypto Bitcoin. Also, key on-chain metrics tracked by the crypto exchange show that the Bitcoin network last month had healthier on-chain fundamentals than most other blockchain networks. The daily on-chain transfer volume in US dollar terms on the Bitcoin network rose by 89.3% this year as the only network tracked with positive growth in this metric. For the month of April, Bitcoin and Dogecoin were the only two networks that saw increased transfer volumes, rising by 55.9% and 132% respectively. Also, the NVRV score currently gives a clear indication that Bitcoin may soon be bottoming. If you don't know, NVRV measures a ratio of traditional market capitalization to realized capitalization, which is calculated by valuing each unit of supply at the price it was last transacted on-chain. Now what's really fascinating is that El Salvador has put its foot on the pedal to increase the size of its Bitcoin holdings. El Salvador's president took to Twitter to announce the country's latest Bitcoin purchase. The purchase saw 500 Bitcoin added to the country's stash. The latest acquisition means the country has purchased over 2,000 Bitcoins. Also, another fascinating thing is that many Cubans are now using cryptos as an alternative means of exchange due to limitations imposed by U.S. sanctions on the country's traditional payment rails. Over 100,000 Cubans are reportedly using digital assets, largely thanks to mobile internet reaching the country just 3 years ago. Before we come back to Doge, let's look at a very important prediction from Mark Cuban. According to him, the crypto industry, and in particular smart contract platforms, needs to start focusing on how to improve business models in order to justify some of its big valuations. He also said that there's the tokens that have utility like Ethereum. They have these things called smart contracts, and they allow you to trade different things. Whether it's NFT insurance contracts on Ethereum, there's just a variety of things. That's where I think the true upside is. That's why I own a ton of Ethereum and Polygon, because smart contracts like HTML or JavaScript for the internet. You can create applications. So as he said, Ethereum and Polygon might be worth checking out. Now coming back to Doge, the great thing is that according to Whale Stats, Dogecoin remains one of the most used smart contracts among the top 500 BSC whales in the last 24 hours. The point is that even after the downfall, whales are choosing to buy Doge. So that is something that makes me very optimistic about where we're heading from here.